So like the Galactic Empire, the Galactic Republic used a variety of different scout vehicles within their military, and I figured today we'd take a closer look at one of the less visible ones, but one that played a pretty major role, the BARC Speeder. I'm Colin, and this is Sci-Fi Deep Dive. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, to head down below and hit that subscribe button. So the Biker Advanced Recon Commando Speeder, more commonly known as the BARC Speeder, was the primary scout speeder utilized by the Galactic Republic during the Clone Wars, and it saw action in nearly every major battle, from the Battle of Geonosis to the Battle of Seleucami during the Outer Rim sieges at the end of the conflict. It filled a variety of different roles, and while it was present in every major battle, it wasn't in the forefront of most people's vision of the war. Overshadowed by massive assault vehicles like the AT-TE, it still played a crucial role in the conflict, and today we're going to talk about how it was designed and how it was used. So let's start where all this begins. It was designed and manufactured by the Aratech Repulsor Lift Company, much like many other speeder bikes in the galaxy. At 4.6 meters long, it was relatively large for a speeder bike and could only carry one occupant, although at times one could conceivably fit a second on board. With a maximum speed of 520 kilometers per hour, it could go blisteringly fast on the battlefield when needed. However, it was often used in small squadrons, moving at slower speeds. On top of that, it was actually fairly well armed for a light speeder, being armed with 2 light laser cannons for engaging light vehicles, and 2 anti-personnel light lasers for engaging infantry. We see both of these used at various times. So this is a rather well-armed light speeder, all things considered. Deployed in the early days of the Clone Wars, they became the mainstay speeder bike for the clone trooper forces throughout the conflict, serving mostly a scout role, but occasionally other roles as well. This made good use of some of the more modular features of the bike, things like attachable gurneys or sidecars that allowed them to carry multiple people or wounded clone troopers from the battlefield. On top of that, the Republic was quick to order civilian versions of this bike, including a version dedicated for police forces, which could be used for patrol duties on worlds like Coruscant, making these speeder bikes relatively commonplace for these civilians of the galaxy as well as the soldiers fighting in the war. In its service as the mainstay speeder bike for Republic forces, it saw action in nearly every major battle, like I mentioned earlier, but notable actions were places like the conflict on Orto Plutonia, which is known as the One-Day War, or the Battle of Seleucami, where they were used by Republic forces as scout speeders. They were present all the way up to the very end of the conflict, where we see them used by Republic forces during the Siege of Seleucami, during the Outer Rim sieges, when Order 66 is disseminated throughout Republic forces. It's actually a pair of clone troopers on BARC speeders that assassinate Jedi General Stas Ali on Seleucami. Fun fact, by the way, in this moment, she is riding a 74Z speeder bike, which would later come to replace the BARC Speeder, but we'll get to that a little bit later. After the fall of the Republic and the rise of the Empire, the BARC Speeder remained in service with Imperial forces. However, it began to be replaced fairly early on in the reign of the Empire, with more and more 74Z speeder bikes replacing the BARC Speeders. You see, the big change here is that the BARC Speeders were bigger and more complex, and as a result more expensive to manufacture. Now, as many of us know, the Empire has a doctrine of basically overwhelming their enemies with numbers, so they want the cheapest and most mass-producible forces possible. So the slimmed-down 74Z just had an advantage over the larger, bulkier, more expensive, but more capable BARC speeders. As a result, by about 15 years after the end of the Clone Wars, the BARC speeder had been nearly completely phased out in favor of the 74Z, which had become the primary speeder of the Galactic Empire. That being said, BARC speeders could still be seen here or there, especially in civilian roles, all the way through to the end of the conflict, popping up every now and then. But it would eventually be replaced by the 74Z, which is a quite frankly, far more iconic speeder bike for its role during the Battle of Endor. And if you'd like to learn about the 74Z, how it was used, how it was manufactured, and some of its design elements, I'll leave a link up here to my video on that. And I'd like you to let me know down in the comments, if you were trying to decide the speeder bike for the Galactic Empire, would you rather have a fleet of BARC speeders or 74Zs, the sort of cheaper alternative? Which one makes more sense to you? Assume you could have a larger fleet of 74Zs, by the way. And if you have anything else you'd like to see me cover in Star Wars, you can let me know down below in the comments. Last but not least, if you enjoyed this video, head down below, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell icon so you get notified when I upload new videos. So for Sci-Fi Deep Dive, I'm Colin, and I will see you next time.